Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I'm your host, Kyle, but I'm also joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed, but we are joined by local celebrity, radio host Danny Rouhier of 106.7. Danny, thank you so much for joining us tonight, sir. Out of your busy schedule from being on TNT now. Wow, dude, how are you doing?
Well, they've asked me back so many. Oh, not at all. They never asked me back, but it was still fun. By the way, Kyle, you need to introduce your other guest tonight. I don't know if you've heard this at all in the station. The Fruit Flies now co-host the show. I ate two during this afternoon show. I'm like trying to give like a heated, impassioned discussion of Dan Snyder, and in the middle of it, I'm like, okay, I'm sure this is on brand. It's so ridiculous. I don't know why they're here, but they've invaded. This is their building now, and we have to pay rent.
I can understand why the Fruit Flies want to be around the celebrity, Danny. It's all your fault. That's what it is.
By the way, not to sound depressing, but how does that feel to go from being on NBA on TNT to the Burgundy Zone now? You know?
Listen, not all progression is linear. Stop it. I'm telling you, it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. There's so much about it so cool. I mean, honestly, the lasting memory is going to be more. So they had me on a Zoom call, right? So just like this. So in you guys know how Zoom works. Everyone's done it over the last year. So there's my fat face in the box, right? And I'm sitting here in this actually very seat that I'm sitting in now. And I can see me on the other side. So it was just two. So where Kyle is the like the game feed that was on in their studio. You with me?
Okay.
So right. We taped it at halftime of I guess it was the Jazz. I can't remember whoever. It was the Jazz game, the halftime, right? So they're getting ready for the half. They brought me on, and they're sitting there waiting. So I can hear their studio audio. So they're watching the game like buddies watch a basketball game.
Right.
And they're pointing stuff out, and Kenny's taking a note, and Ernie's like, "Wow, look at that closeout by Gobert, and watch Donovan Mitchell." They're just shooting the shit, talking. Oh, can I curse? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
So they're shooting the shit, talking about the game, and it's like, this is worth the price of admission already. This is awesome, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, can I? I can't. I can't tell the full story. I'll tell you guys as soon as we're done recording exactly how it goes. But so I'm sitting there, moments where they bring me on, and that night there was an award show that was taking place, right? And the award show of some sort, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's sports Emmys or some kind of shit. I don't know. But like they're reading the awards, and Ernie's like looking at his phone. He's like, "So we got an award for best studio show." Whatever it is, right? They got that award. And then there's one that they don't win, right? They didn't win one of the ones. And Ernie's like, "So we didn't get best sports post game or whatever." And Kenny asks, "Didn't we used to win that, or haven't we won that before?" And right away, Charles is like, "Man, we used to win that all the time before Shaq's." And right away, they're just boom. And I'm sitting there, I get to hear it. I get to hear the whole thing.
So
they're
awesome.
They really have that rivalry behind, not off camera. Like they're just always ragging on each other.
They're buddies, man. They're good pals that everyone's got that relationship with somebody where just for whatever reason, it's like a ball busting, your guns are always trained. If something comes up, like, it was a pussy. And like, you just always, that's how those guys are. And that was the coolest part to me, was the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
I would pay to see that, by the way.
A lot of people would. And speaking of incredible, Danny, the latest news coming down was that the Washington football team was fined, $10 million for the Beth Wilkinson investigation, everything that's transpired over the year. I wanted to get your opinion on that. Do you think it's too light? Do you think it's a right around where it should be? What are your feelings on it?
No, this is embarrassing, guys, quite frankly, on a number of levels. It's the equivalent of finding someone that makes an honest living, like the rest of us schlubs, $150 for decades of harsh conclusion impropriety. I mean, the nuggets from the report and in kind of the summary of it, the context that we've seen. Again, there's no written report that's going to be released because there's no transparency. They know that. They're heading that off at the pass. They don't want any further action. They basically are trying to wash their hands of any kind of accountability, talking about the NFL. But even in some of the summary and the statements from the NFL, the characterizations are harsh. They are stark. These are serious things, okay, that have taken place. the settlements that have taken place from Snyder and the Washington football team to some of these alleged victims over the years, though some of that information still hasn't come out. The Washington Post and Will Hobson and company are still kind of pursuing some of these things. It's basically what Snyder's been able to do is say, wasn't me. I'm also really sorry, and it's going to be better. Kind of getting away on both ends of it. Either you were responsible or you weren't, and now you're sort of got more control, you've got more autonomy, and you're going to, step away to work on stadium stuff for a little while Tanya runs it. Bet you they communicate about certain things. It's the whole thing is pathetic to me, honestly. And this, what we hoped, what a lot of us fans hoped, I think, was that the idea that Snyder at the end of this wouldn't own the team anymore. That was the pipe dream. That was the utopian scenario. Yeah. I mean, listen, obviously the most important thing, real world perspective, is justice for the victims. If that was the case, let's let all the facts play out and we can make up our own minds. Really, from a football perspective, we're talking sports. I just do a little sports show right here on this dumb radio station, right? I do sports. From a sports perspective, I want him to be good, and I want that guy gone. I think they're not going to be good when he owns the team. Revolutionary statement by me, right? So my hope ultimately was that would happen. That was a pipe dream. The owners turning on one of their own was never really likely. Mm-hmm. They don't want the Eye of Sauron turned to them when there's some people start sniffing around. They didn't want that precedent set. Basically had to be on tape like Jerry Richardson was, and that was enough. But for the most part, they don't want to hurt their own. They don't want to set that precedent. And what we thought was there'd be some teeth to this investigation, it turns out there wasn't. It was a glorified book report that Beth Wilkinson turned in to Roger Goodell in his office. And this $10 million fine that's going to go to charity is not justice. It's not fair. I don't know what I would have wanted, honestly, other than him being removed. A full-on suspension where here's what I would have done if assuming no longer owning the team was off the table. I would have said, you're suspended for 1 year starting right now this minute. And we're going to peek in. We're going to check. If we find that you're sending text messages, if you're doing a Bobby Valentine with a fake mustache, we find that you're involved in any way, the clock starts again. 1 year, you go away, live on your $100 million yacht or any of your multiple homes. Because that's not what, for a multi-billionaire, that $10 million bucks is the change in your couch. So I know it was a long answer, but no, it's not enough. And it's a shame that he ends up out of this with more control, despite ineptitude at best and malicious conduct at worst.
Right. And Hall, real fast before you ask your question, can I just say for years, me and Kyle have been saying the one way to get Dan Snyder out of here is to try to figure out a way to Me Too him, to get the Me Too movement on him and to figure out something. And it happened. It finally happened and nothing happened to him. The guy is invincible and he is uncancelable and unfireable.
I mean, the great Omar from The Wire,
right,
I believe said, "Come at the king, you best not miss."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what happened.
Right, that's
great
true.
scholar, a great scholar.
If you take a shot and you don't get him, he's now stronger.
Yeah.
Which is what happened. To me, it's the worst case scenario, honestly.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm 100% with you. I definitely expected a lot more. And for it to, like you said, just to be like a little pebble kind of thrown his way, it's kind of amazing. But speaking of the team, kind of switch it to on the field. A lot of the analysts out there have kind of the Dan Orlovskis of the world, the Louis Riddicks of the world have been kind of drinking the Washington football team Kool-Aid, saying that they're the clear-cut winner in the division. They should they're the team to beat in the division. I think Dan Orlovsky had him in his last Final Four teams, which
he did.
I mean, I would love to see that.
Yep.
But do you think that this whole Dan Snyder thing is kind of gonna steer them away from that? And how do you feel about them as far as their sentiments on the team?
It's a great question. I mean, if you buy into this sort of stuff, PFF has their roster in terms of overall talent, I think 12th entering this season. They were 30th last year. Again, that's a data point. Is that gospel? No, but it's something, right? It just kind of shows you where the growth has been. It's a talented group in a lot of ways. This is really about quarterback, how good, what's the ceiling with Fitzpatrick and all these guys, or maybe it's Heineke at some point, I don't know. But in terms of the hype, it's interesting. We've seen 7 to 9 teams here, haven't we? We've seen 3 of them in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Those 7 to 9 Gruden teams didn't carry the same excitement that this one has. Now, that's just kind of a funny tongue-in-cheek way to say this, but they are trending upwards. It's a nice young core. It's not a bunch of veterans. It's not Bruce Allen telling you the culture is damn good. You actually have football adults. Agree or disagree with them on the merits of a football decision, right? Whether you thought this was the best draft pick or that was the best draft pick, or you liked this receiver, but they got Curtis Samuel. Reasonable discussions can be had. football discussions are always welcome and always fine. There's no one way to skin a cat, right? So this group right now has a lot of positive momentum coming off of last year. There's a reason that this division hasn't had back-to-back winners since Philadelphia was doing it in the mid-aughts. Is that what we're calling it, by the way? The aughts, the O's? I don't know.
Yeah,
Point is,
that's always confuses me.
yeah, they were doing that a bunch.
Right.
But the schedule's really challenging. You got basically the final four teams from last year plus Green Bay, plus Green Bay, but like you got New Orleans, how good they've been. You got Seattle. There's plenty of difficult on this schedule, and that contributes to it. We don't have a team that's truly great. You get affected by some of those kinds of things, and now you add in that 17th game, and nobody's really sure how it's going to be handled. So there's a lot of positive attention. Positive attention is warranted, right? I think that's correct. I think that's right. There's a little bit of a hype train that has left the station here, Mike, in my opinion. Remember back in 2012, analysts, smart people, after that run, that 7-game run of Magic, which is as much fun as I've had as a Redskins fan, Washington football team fan, now we're supposed to say, since the actual real winning that happened when I was a child. That run was so wonderful, but analysts were talking about 13-3. Analysts were talking about Super Bowl the following year, right? We all know what happened. It couldn't have been more different than that. I'm not saying these two are the same. I just sort of say, hey, let's let a group that hasn't won 11 games since 1991, let's get double-digit wins. Let's have back-to-back winning years. That's not 9-7 and 8-7-1 before we start saying this organization has turned the corner. Some positive attention is absolutely warranted. A lot of hype. I still would pump the brakes on that a little bit. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, definitely did.
Right. So last episode, we had a question brought up that I thought was very interesting, and I'm going to alter it just a little bit, but we'll actually talk about the Washington football team on the field right here. What do you think is more likely to happen? Do you think we're more likely to see the offense succeed and get better, or the defense succeed and get better? Keep in mind, the defense was 4th last year, and they're going against a tough schedule. The offense has made a lot of additions, so it's going to be pretty tough for the defense to get better.
It's about scale, Mike, to me.
Right.
Now, when there's a 3 in front of your name or next to your name in terms of a category.
Right.
30, 31, 32. I think they were 27th in one efficiency metric. But it's everything from time of possession, average length of drive, yards per pass attempt, pressure percentage allowed, air yards, anything that a dynamic offense in this league has. It's pretty much the top 10 offenses were in the playoffs last year, with the exception of the Oakland Raiders. They were I think, were 10th, and they didn't make it. But everyone else made it. I don't know if there's a theme we can draw out of that. The top 9 offenses played extra football. Seems to me you got a long way to go. Washington, and it used to be, by the way, the barrier was pretty much 400 points. Now there's more scoring in the league. 400 points wouldn't have put you in the top 10. I think more than half the league scored 400 points or close to it last year, with a couple teams falling just short by like a touchdown or so. Washington, if they scored 100 more points, which is basically a touchdown per week, would have ended up just outside of that top 10, 11, 12. That's a dramatic improvement. That's a major stride forward. That's still not top 10 offense. That's still better than it was. The room for them to grow, it's infinitely more. I mean, I remember I at one point on a quiz at my freshman year of high school, we did the Odyssey. F the Odyssey, by the way. That book sucks. It was so stupid. It's a Cyclops. I don't care. I can't read it. Andremoy Anypain Musa. I don't remember that crap, right? It's so dumb. But like, I got an F on a quiz. I got like a 26% on a quiz. Well, the next quiz I took from this really hard teacher, I got a 54. Now, I improved a lot. It was still an F, still unacceptable, still not good. But look at the margin. Going from a 54 to like a 70 is not as good as, the margin of improvement. So going from top 10 to 2 is a huge challenge and a big deal.
Right.
Going from 30 to 17, major improvement. Is that good enough? I don't know. You bring up a great point, though, real quick about the defense. This group could be better this year, and I think they have a chance to be, especially when it comes to pressure, maybe getting pressure without blitzing. Look at some of their blitz rates from last year in Jack Del Rio and company. They blitzed a lot more than they did in 19, with very similar sack results and pressure results, by the way. In fact, it was even worse in 20 in a lot of ways. I think they really missed Matt Ioannidis in that regard. But as a quick side, you're playing some excellent quarterbacks, whether it's Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, if Aaron Rodgers plays, you've got him on that. Tom Brady obviously is pretty good. So, there's a chance this defense could be better in a lot of ways, but still not statistically show that. I think it's a smart point by you.
Right. So they could, I feel the same way. They could be a better overall defense. However, they could technically take a step back and be, instead of being 4th overall, they could be 8th, something like that. I think
in terms of ranking. But I mean,
right.
this is just as much eye test as, when, hey, it's 3rd and 7. How many times that division game have 3rd and 7 been converted because Zach Ertz caught a pass and no one covered him, and everyone? I thought me, but I was, okay, we got just cover that guy. You know what I mean? Like that's right. So yeah, we'll know when we see it, I think.
Right. Absolutely. Now, Danny, I wanted to ask you, because you're a long tenured fan, obviously, and the NFL came out and said that they are allowing, the throwback helmets, one other helmet. So for you, do you have a horse in the race? Do you have a favorite helmet that you would like to see as a throwback helmet selected?
It's a good question. I'm weird. As if anybody's listened to my show, they'll know that that's true. I'm weird on a lot of things. I just have never been a big uniform person. I can't get excited about it. I can't get really motivated by it. Some people are like, the W helmet, that's the worst. Some people are like, I like it. Like, I don't have too much passion behind it. The ones that I will say that I enjoyed, I like that 70th anniversary throwback. That stuff, that old school, just with the spear on the side, et cetera. But I know that imagery is verboten now, and I'm not advocating for it. Just thinking back to some of the ones that I've liked. But to me, all I want is to feel like it's going to be okay again. I just want to feel like it did when I was a kid. They wore white at home. They had the helmet with the insignia on it, and you were probably going to get your ass kicked. I just want to feel like that again. I didn't feel like that when Bruce Allen was like, let's have some yellow pants. Like, I didn't feel that way. It made me feel like failure. It made me feel like that goon was in charge. I don't want to feel that way. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have one in mind specifically. I mean, I guess, right, but a lot of things are out, right? Because even though it's throwback, you can't have a lot of the imagery. So a lot of the options will be taken off the table. So, maybe a W helmet, maybe something that says Washington or I don't know, maybe somebody can come up with something cool, like a cool font, it'd be kind of neat. Just start working out in Microsoft Paint and just play with some letters, man.
Were you a fan of the throwbacks where they had the leather helmet looking ones that they used in 2012? That they still use those throwback jerseys.
With that, because it wasn't the normal.
It was darker burgundy.
It was a darker burgundy, and they had the helmets.
It was closer to the maroon that Jim Zorn wanted them today.
Right.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. I dug those. I like those. That makes me think of Josh Morgan throwing the ball.
Yes, exactly.
That was the Rams cornerback.
Right. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and Kyle just mentioned you've been a long tenure fan of the team. Another person that was a long tenure person on the team was Morgan Moses. Obviously, I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago maybe, they decided to release him for obviously to go the younger route with Sam Cosmi, maybe who's the guy that played left tackle last year? I just have it. Cornelius Lucas, maybe as a right tackle, and maybe to give way to Sam Cosmi. Were you surprised by the Morgan Moses cut, and how much confidence do you have in his O-line going forward?
In retrospect, I shouldn't have been surprised. In retrospect, I shouldn't have been. At the time, I was, because why now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just say for the sake of argument, okay, you drafted Cosmi. No problem there. It's a maybe not an immediate need, but it will be at some point. Totally fine. You groom, you develop. That's part of what this draft is supposed to be, right? That's kind of this process. So you go, okay, eventually he'll grow into that role. Did you have to do it this minute? Because at a minimum, you got a depth guy that's gone, a guy that everyone liked in the locker room, a guy that was a known leader, someone that everybody looked to, and you moved on from, at a minimum, was quality depth with some urgency, right? So I was kind of puzzled by that. But in retrospect, if you're a veteran that wasn't specifically brought in by Ron Rivera and company, like if your cell phone number doesn't have a Charlotte area code, you're not long for this team. You're just not. Yeah. And Moses is example number one. Nick Sundberg is example number two. And Ryan Kerrigan is the example on this. Ryan Kerrigan signed for mid-level punter money to go play for a division rival to be a third pass rusher.
Yeah.
They've got a bunch of kids that they hope take over. Some seventh rounders, a guy that they had in last year with a hyphenated last name, and William Bradley King, Shaka Tony. They hope these seventh rounders are good depth guys. I hope they are too, by the way. I'd be all into that. I'd love for them to grow into something, but it's a pretty big risk. Yeah. You got the all-time sack leader who in part-time duty, probably a quarter of the snaps, had only 2 sacks less than Chase Young did last year.
Yep.
You couldn't use a third pass rusher with a couple of these. Again, Sweat and Young should absolutely play and start until they're tired. 17 games. You don't need another veteran pass rusher. Let him say no to an offer that's like that. Let him say no to $1 million. Let him say no to 1.4 million. Instead, Kerrigan told us on our show, Ron Rivera and Dan Snyder called and said, your services are no longer required. Thank you for everything.
Right.
Now, if you think the bidding is going to be too rich, you make your bid and let him go sign somewhere else. Perfectly reasonable. If he says, I want to be a full-time starter, that's good for you. Go get it. Here's the thing. The market never materialized.
Right.
The starter market wasn't there. The third pass rusher role was. Again, he signed for incredibly low amounts of money to play for the Eagles, which is going to make me sick to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Kerrigan's a world beater now. That guy could absolutely help you for not that much money. So that purge has been ongoing. And a lot of folks have said to me, as I've kind of harped on this and brought this up a bunch, they'll say, well, good. None of those guys won anything. Fair enough.
Right.
Does that mean nothing was good? Nothing was right?
Right.
I've seen some 7-9 teams before. This 7-9 team is that much more special to you? Are you sure this is Bill Walsh 2.0? Again, I'm a Rivera fan. I like Ron Rivera a lot. I think he is good. I think overall the positives way outweigh any kind of negatives or other kind of perceptions. And any football decision can be agreed with, disagreed with, or questioned like anything else. Very, very reasonable, normal. And I'm glad that adult is here and he's in charge. But this is one of those things where you go, I don't do the he's infallible. I don't do the in Ron we trust thing. Again, if you're Bill Belichick and you're Bill Walsh and you make a move that doesn't make any sense to me, I go, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I'm just a pudgy idiot that looks weird without a beard in a room talking to 3 guys on a Zoom call. I have no right to say anything. But you went 7-9 here, dude. And we played 4 different quarterbacks and nothing but sagas and everything was weird. So let's all pump the brakes. Yeah. Anyway, that's my thought.
Well, speaking real fast of pumping the brakes, one thing that we can be excited about, and see, I like having you on, Danny, just like I like having Grant on, because you guys are fellow diehard Washington Nationals fans. And I know this isn't a national show, but how amazed are you with the way that Kyle Schwarber has been playing?
We don't have words for this. We have regular adjectives
unreal.
And adverbs and things. People need to understand what's happening.
It's historic.
He touched the basketball.
It is.
He drank MJ's secret stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Bonds, height of performance enhancement. Sammy Sosa, height of performance enhancement at a time where pitching stuff isn't what it is now.
Right.
This level of incredible home run, prodigious rate, and hitting. It's not just he's hitting homers and striking out a bunch. He's hitting close to 400. He's been killing the ball. Even his outs have been scalded.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody locked in like this for this extended period of time. And it wasn't all of June. It's really started the middle of June.
Yeah.
And he set all sorts of records for home runs, Nationals records for home runs in the month of June, really starting to hit him on June 12th. It is unprecedented and just staggering what's happened. I mean, by the time I usually get home from the show and say hello to my children, shove some food down my fat mouth, by the time I get downstairs, Schwarber's already homered once. And Bob Carpenter's like, and the Nats are up 1-0. If you missed it, Kyle Schwarber dialed 9 to get out, hit one 700 feet. Like, that's what we're doing now. It really is amazing. And it's almost weird when he doesn't homer. I mean, that's the level we're at with him. Yeah. It is truly remarkable.
See, I kind of miss the FP Santangelo days where he would say these just ridiculous statements, or he'd be like, oh man, Strozzi hit him with some high top shelf stutter, but then all of a sudden Schwarber just hit a Schwarbomb straight back deep, and he just sounded like a frat bro the entire time. He hit a tater, and Tony Two Bags just took that one all the way straight to the bank. And you were just like, what are you talking about, FP?
FP, poor FP. Now, but Danny, to finish up this interview, I have to ask you, I think it's a very powerful question, and I'm not sure if you've ever actually answered it on the radio, but I wanted to ask you, what's a quote-unquote successful season in your eyes for the Washington football team?
That is a good question. That is a good question. Let me Christian ponder that for a second. I think.
Oh man, that means you're gonna fail.
No, I'm Gene Stallings. All right, here's what it is. I think this division is gonna suck again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winning the division again, being the first back-to-back winner in a decade and change, I think is important. I think winning a playoff game should be a metric for success, because again, we what do we have, 2 in the Snyder era, 2 playoff wins since he purchased the team.
Yeah.
The Bucks and
they beat the Lions in '99. I don't know if that
and then the Bucks.
They beat
the Bucks with the Sean Taylor spit
with
game,
like 200 yards of offense.
Yeah.
I think that's Pittman. It. You know,
Yeah,
and
is
then
it?
That's it.
one home playoff win, I think, in there. Maybe I'm missing one. Point is, it's not many. You can use one hand
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, it was two.
There's a lot of hype, and there's hype around individuals like Chase Young. People fit him for a gold jacket before he took a snap and just decided he was generational. Pressure on him, I think, to perform up to that level. Pressure on this defense, maybe to carry this team at times. Pressure on Rivera, because initially, remember what he said, guys, was we're going to be patient. This is a rebuild. Well, he looked around. The division sucks so bad. We can kind of go for this. And to his credit, they got it. They went for it and won a division, trying to establish a culture. I'm all in favor of that. That's just fine. The hard part about that is follow-ups are more challenging, because if you don't do that, for the sake of argument, let's say you're 5-11. Well, your quarterback of the future is probably right there within your grasp. You don't have to trade. You could have had Justin Fields. You could have had Mac Jones. You could have had somebody, right? Well, now you can't do that. You can't get Matt Stafford because you tried to trade for him and your offer wasn't as good. No fault there. But now you're in the Ryan Fitzpatrick journeyman tier. You're figuring out if Case Keenum can still do it. And we got something that we see something that someone else does. And, nothing long-term. That's a one-year deal. It's hard to improve when you're kind of going in that general direction. Right. So the expectation and success to me would be winning the division again, but not a 7-10, 8-9 kind of winning division, like a normal NFL record, if there is such a thing in a 17-game season, and winning a playoff game. I think winning a playoff game should absolutely be something that we say, this is no longer one of those fairy tales. NFL teams do this. Teams get good and they get bad. They get good and they get bad. Right. We've just sort of maintained this thing with the occasional flare-up that usually ends immediately and we go back to crappy.
Yeah. The most boring roller coaster ever.
Every single time. You're absolutely right. It's like every 5 years. We have the blip. We think we're out of it. And then right crashing down it comes. You're absolutely right about that,
It's unsustainable streaks. And they've been fun. I've really enjoyed the 4, 5, and 7-game winning streaks that it's taken to go to
Yeah, right.
Those years were all a blast. But the folly or the mistake that we made is, this is it now. Not the huge sample that says they're not very good, not the 3-13s, the 4-12s, the 5-11s, or the absolute chaos or the bingo color or whatever else. That's not who we are. It's this small 4, 5, or 7-game sample. That's who we are. I think that's the mistake we've made a bunch.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Danny, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. You being the celebrity that you are now, a TNT All-Star, and now Charles Barkley's, I guess you could say that you could impersonate him, even on phone calls and stuff like that. It's absolutely incredible to see.
Your close personal friend, Charles Barkley.
It's good to see.
Very good friend of mine.
It's good to see you get some success, to be perfectly honest.
Thank you, dude.
I'm glad to see that.
Do you ever mess with him and have him and call him and just do his voice to him and he just gets confused like he's talking to himself?
We're not there yet.
Almost, maybe one day.
Yeah, it was more of a one-off where he did me a favor. And that was it. You can tell we're close personal friends, by the way, because he said it was so funny. He was so cool. Came on our show for multiple segments, by the way.
He was awesome on your
guy
show, dude. He was amazing. Yeah,
He's so great. Of course, just so cool. Knowing that he said what he said, it was good. Everyone was like, you know what he said? Yeah, right. Mad, which is so stupid, but that's fine. The best part was that night he was on TNT doing the thing, and he just wrote anecdote. He was like, "So I was on a Danny Rouhier show."
Still fucked your name
2
up.
weeks later, still.
I mean, to be fair, he does talk about Jokic every single night, and he still can't pronounce his name. What did you say when you did it, by the way? You gave up on it halfway through like he did?
That was the bit I think that people liked. I can't remember exactly how I did it, but Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Jojo Jorgensen. Well, something like that.
Yeah. Danny, I can't thank you enough, sir. I hope you have a great night. I can't thank you enough for taking time out and to join us, Danny. I hope you have a good night, sir.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man.
Bye, Danny.
Congrats on the bike hat. On the bike helmet.
Dude, I'm not cool. I have no chance of being cool. You got to lean in. Trevor's in here.
All right, Danny. We'll see you again sometime.
Guys.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys. We just spoke with the Danny Rouhier. That was incredible.
It's amazing. And a little known, before we started recording, we were talking, and he showed me how to do a Shaq impression. I'm not going to do it. I'd have to practice it. But he does a perfect Shaquille O'Neal too. Literally. Like the way that he pronounces each letter is just so perfect. Like It was amazing.
He could literally do like the NBA TNT bit, but like just by himself. Going
Yeah,
with Charles.
he really could.
Charles.
Yeah, right. And I would pay to watch that.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago, he was actually performing in Gaithersburg. And I like reached out to everyone. I was like, yo, we actually should go see Danny. He's really, really good. Let's go do that.
Right.
So it looks like he's not going to have an issue anymore with his comedy clubs. He's going to be selling out everywhere.
And by the way, my favorite impression of his, I know I said this before we went on the air, but is that comedian Sebastian Maniscalco. If you haven't seen it, go on him or Grant Paulson's Instagram and scroll down. He does this bit about going through a Chipotle line. And if you know Sebastian, it's perfect. His movements, his mannerisms, the way he talks, he's
spot on with his impersonations. He's really incredible. But now let's move on to the story segment. Tonight's stories are the crazy ones. So, Hall, why don't you start us off first? What is the crazy story that you have to tell us about?
Well, you heard the story last week involving a car. This one's going to involve another car.
Right. How can you top last week's where
Right.
your car got
probably
stolen
doesn't top it, but
and lit on fire?
Just a crazy story in general. So probably stay away from cars as a whole. But I wasn't driving this time, so it's cool. So this is a couple years back, maybe 5-10 years ago. I don't even know the timeline. But it's a Friday or a Saturday night. Everyone's hanging out, like pregame and doing their thing. What are we gonna do tonight? Blah 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 blah. Hey, someone's up in Frederick at the bars, bar hopping. Let's go hit up downtown Frederick. It's a nice summer warm night out. You know, everyone's gonna be out there. It's gonna be a nice popping ass time.
My story takes place there too, by the way.
Frederick is the lawless place.
I got a couple there.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I got into a car that had 3 doors on it. It was really, really strange to me. I don't know. It was ridiculous. So we're in the car. Exactly. Looking back on it, you're right. So we're on the way to Frederick, just having a good time. Had a couple road sodas in the car. Don't encourage that to all of our anyone out there, but all of our younger people out there. Had some road sodas on the way up there.
Good catch all.
Yeah. And, there's a driver, my boy Robbie. I'm in the back seat.
I hope there's a driver.
Having a good old time. And this girl, Lena, was the driver. And we're on the way to Frederick. And, there's normal, like, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night traffic going on 270. If you're from Montgomery County, you know how that is. So next thing you know, there's a car in front of us about 10, 15 feet, normal distance as in traffic flow. And they just swerve out the way at the last second. So we're kind of just like, what the hell? And before we can even register what was going on, we see a huge, I'm talking about like how do you rate like deers? Like a 5-point buck, 4-point buck, whatever the
10
whatever
point,
the
yes.
Okay, this had to be like an 8-point buck. I'm talking about a big ass mofo.
Trust us, we're white.
It doesn't like gauge the size of the antlers. It's how many points are on the antlers.
Yeah. Just trust us on that, Hall.
Yeah.
We're white guys from Damascus.
If there's a 10 out of, if there's a 10, like think of a deer being a 10, like a huge deer. This
like
is
like a super hot 10 or like a 10 point.
Like a super hot 10.
If there's like a deer that's a 10, goddamn.
But anyway, yeah. So there's just a huge deer carcass in the middle of the road. The car in front of us swerves out the way. Lena saved my life that night. I don't know how she did it. She's like literally like some Fast and Furious driver, like Tokyo Drift. It was crazy. She swerves out the way of the car or the deer, but there's other cars in other lanes next to us. So she literally cuts it back from the right side and goes back to the left. There's more cars on the left side. So she swerves it back again to the right. We're literally going head on for like the walls on the side of the road, the median. Somehow, some way, she, like I said, when I say Tokyo Drift, she literally like skirt and like Tokyo drifts it onto the side of the road where like the walls is at. We end up facing the opposite way on 270. The wall is probably like right here. The car is facing the opposite way on 270. Somehow, some way, we did not scratch the car.
What?
Didn't do anything. She didn't smash into the wall. It was the most Vin Diesel Fast and Furious 9 thing I've ever seen in my life. And then we went to Frederick and had a good old night. Like nothing happened.
She should be driving NASCAR. What should be going on?
I agree.
Yeah. What about you, Reed? What's your crazy story? I'm sure this is going to be ridiculous.
There's a couple of them. I mean, this one's not really funny. It's more just like it sucks. I mean, I guess in a way it's funny. There's a couple I could tell, but I'll just tell the one like this.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, I got stabbed one time. Actually, little known fact.
Goodness, what?
Yeah, I got shanked. That's a true story. I was in downtown Frederick. I say I got stabbed. I got sliced. There's apparently a difference. I learned when I tell people that. Yeah, it was a slice. But so anyway, we're in downtown Frederick. We're throwing a show where it's all the people. I'm sure Kyle, you can guess all the people. Andrew Pops, all these people. We're throwing a big show. We have a lot of equipment there, a lot of speakers, a lot of microphones, all this stuff. It is at a place called Cafe 611. And then that Cafe 611,
that place very well.
That place has a very, it doesn't have the best reputation at times. So we're throwing a show. It is a hip hop show, and it's going okay. I mean, I guess we're just like a local performance. It's decent. And at one point, this girl, we will call her CA, cannot find her purse, but her phone is in her purse. So we're using the Find My iPhone as we are in there, and it's bringing us to the back of the bar. And we're going to the back of the bar. We're like, it says it's here, but we don't see it. And then we see it moving, and it's inside. And we're like, okay, cool. It says it's inside in a back room. And we go back there, and we're like, excuse me, to the owner. He's like, you can't come back here. And we're like, it says that her purse is back there. Her phone is in it. We have to check my iPhone. He's like, I don't care. You can't go back there. I'll check. And we're like, no, can't we just go back there and find like this is her purse,
right.
Like clearly. So then a big thing starts where he won't let us back there, and we're like, dude, she has a lot of money in there. That's her purse. I find her iPhone, says that it's back there. Like clearly somebody took her purse, and you're defending them, or you don't want them to get in trouble. You don't want anything to happen, whatever. And so a fight ends up breaking out. We all just start getting into it, and he's like, you know what? Fuck you guys, everybody, you guys pack up all your shit, leave. So the show ends, it leaves. We're all packing up. This is still going on for like an hour. It takes us an hour to pack up. I'm carrying these heavy ass speakers out. The owner says something to me, and I say something along the lines of, why don't you just go shove it up your ass, you piece of shit? Something like that. Okay. As I say that, there's a bouncer there that I learned later was apparently his nephew or his son, and he didn't take too kindly to that. He definitely didn't. And I'm carrying two speakers on my arms, both like this. I'm drunk, of course, thinking I'm cool. And all of a sudden, I feel somebody grab my shirt and yank me. My arms weighed down by the speakers, and I feel something on my arm, and it just hurts bad. And I'm like, what the fuck? But I don't want to drop the speakers because the speakers are expensive. So finally, he gets in my face, and he's like, if you ever talk to him like that again, it's going to be worse. And I was just like, what? Stop. What the fuck? All right, dude, let go. So finally, I put the speakers down. I look down, and there's a huge gash on my arm, huge slice, just straight slice right here somewhere. I saw the scar of it. But police show up. The cops do nothing. The cops are just like, well, I mean, you know, it is. But it's because I'm drunk, and they're probably like, it happened. So they tell me to go to the hospital. Me and Stefan Zimmerman is a saint. He sat in the hospital with me for 7 hours as I almost cried when I got stitches.
Not surprising.
Because I'm a crier, apparently we've learned. And so that was the time that I got stabbed. And like I said, it's not a funny story. It's just kind of a story where people don't believe that I got shanked once. I did. So I do have more street cred than people think.
Totally been locked up, by the way. That was ridiculous.
Right. Well, also terrible aim, by the way, though. Yeah. My arm. Like, if you're gonna shank somebody, go for the ribs or something, or the gut. Like,
do it right. Right. My crazy story takes place about 10 years ago. The wife and I, we were over at our friend's house, Jamie and Dan's. Mike knows all too well about the parties that we used to have over there. And so on the way home from Rockville, coming back to Germantown, we're like, hey, let's stop at McDonald's. And this McDonald's is in a strip mall. It's right off of Middlebrook Road and Father Hurley out here. Yeah. So we pull into the line, and so we pull up to order. And as I'm pulling up to order, I can see it. There was some dude, like because it's like almost winter time, so it's kind of chilly. It's late at night. He's in like a black big winter coat, and he's just in the like actual parking spots, just standing around walking. I could see him like looking at us, and I was like, dude, what is going on here? So we go up to the first window, and when I get to the first window, I said to the lady, I was like, what's with that guy? And she was like, I don't know, I haven't seen him. So all right, we pull up to get our food. As we pull up to get our food, Katie starts hearing like, she's like, what the hell is that? She looks behind her, and the guy is actively trying to get in the back seat of our car. He's pulling on the door handle, but the door handle keeps clicking because it's locked. When I realized this, I turned around and I saw him, and I started screaming. And I was like, I'm not shitting you guys. Like,
did you scream like, somebody help?
This was one of those moments where it was like, I don't know how to describe it, but
fight or flight.
No, it was like will against will, essentially. Like, I looked at this guy in the eye, and I told him, like, straight up, I will fucking kill you. I'm going to kill you. And I was trying to get out of the car, and Katie kept pulling me in. And I was like, no, I want to go whoop this dude's ass. And I remember I stared at him right in the eye. I said that. As I said that, I could see like the blank in his eye, and he kind of realized. He was like, I'm not the biggest fish in this pond. And he turned around and walked away. And I was still trying to get out to go whoop his ass, but Katie wouldn't let me. So the lady at McDonald's called the police. But it was just so weird.
Yeah. What
was your plan to get in? Were you going to rob us? Were you going to try to at gunpoint, knife point, force us to go?
Maybe the look in his eyes was
like PCP or something.
Maybe the look in his eyes was, oh shit, you're not my Uber driver, and he was just like, damn, I'm sorry, man.
That dude was real sketchy. Like he just walked off into the night and just disappeared. That was insane. I've never seen anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I would have told a funnier story, because I feel like that kind of brought down the mood, but
it did. You ruined everyone's time, dude. That's essentially what you did. You know,
I mean, I could tell the one where I cleaned up my little brother's shit off a gas station floor where he was Down syndrome, but we'll do that for another time. Anyway,
let's move on to our fan questions and our would you rathers. So for this one, let's start with Washington football team fan. You can find him on Twitter at HTTR1980. He said, "What do you make of the Washington Football Club comments? Do you think that's it? If so, what are your thoughts?" And this is pertaining to the statement that was released by the Washington football team today by Dan Snyder with a $10 million fine, basically talking about it and the vision. And in that article, he says the Washington Football Club. So he wants to know, what do you make of it, Hall?
I mean, I definitely think that's one of the names that might be on the table, just for the simple fact that's been a name that's been thrown around since the whole rebranding process has started. Me personally, I don't like it because that just reminds me of a soccer team, and this is not a soccer team, it's a football team. So that's my kind of thought of it. I do think it's slightly something, but not a huge something.
Yeah, my thoughts on it is I think they are smarter than you think they are. This is not Bruce Allen, okay? This is not Vinny Serrato that's running this operation at this point. They are calculated. They know what they're doing. This was by example. One of the quotes from Jason Wright that I always sticks with me and I think about is he said that we want to unleash this thing in the way that you guys deserve it to. They are not going to tip us off at all on whatever the name is. They want us to be surprised. They want us to hit us with that wow factor. They know what they're doing. They used multiple different team titles in this actual statement. They used football club. They used the team, Washington football team. They used the club. They just used random names. I do think it was by design to confuse us a little bit, to keep the conversation going, to bring up the rebrand, because maybe it will take off the attention off Snyder a little bit. But that's all I think it is. Now, what do I think if the Washington Football Club is it? I wouldn't like it, to be perfectly honest with you. Like I said, the people that I just feel like Washington football team, Washington Football Club, that's like eating a bagel with no butter or cream cheese. That's like eating a salad with no dressing. It's just not exciting. It just doesn't get.
Well, eat grass.
Yeah.
Basic.
That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, I feel the same way you guys do. I don't really think that means too much, but kind of evidence of that is, remember during the draft that on two separate occasions when they announced Washington's pick, they said the Washington Football Club. So that's not the first time that they've done that they've called them the Washington Football Club. It could just be something that they say around the office. Who knows? Maybe when they're talking about the actual players, they call them the team. Maybe when they're talking about the clubhouse and everybody, they call them the Washington Football Club, whatever. I don't know, but it's not the first time it's been said, and I don't think that that's it. So
no, I don't think so either. Now let's go to our guy, the big time celebrity on YouTube, Street Scores Rico, and former guest. Thank you, Rico. He said, "How much do you think potentially being able to finally run two tight end sets will affect our offense, especially on third downs, efficiency wise?" Hall.
Yeah, you guys know Ryan Fitzpatrick is like super efficient over the middle. If you look at what he did in Miami with Mike Gesicki, a tight end, pretty athletic, kind of like Logan Thomas type of build, maybe a little bit more athletic, but he was just abusing defenses over the middle. He was a huge red zone target. So if you can add another tight end to kind of work the middle, kind of take the pressure off the guys on the outside, you can run the ball out of those sets, so that bodes well for a guy like Gibson. So I definitely think that they're going to use that to their advantage this year and look for Fitzpatrick to hit, whether it's Logan Thomas and Ricky Seals-Jones, Logan Thomas and Bates, whoever that second tight end is, I think is going to get a pretty good workload this year. So look, that's what I think.
Yeah, it's a great question, Rico, because last year it made a lot of sense since they didn't have any playmakers on the outside, right? They only had Terry essentially and Logan Thomas, so they kind of had to figure out ways to be able to bring big personnel on there, run the football, and everything else, what have you. This year, I do think 2 tight end sets are going to be prevalent. I think they're going to be often, but only on short yardage situations, forcing the defense to think that it's heavy set, you're going to run the football, but then go play action off of that and hitting the tight ends from that point. I do think for third down efficiency, the 2 tight end sets are going to be crucial, and I think Scott Turner is really going to hit the hammer on that. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind one thing that has been said numerous times about Scott Turner is that his offense tends to work best, or he's most comfortable calling plays with 2 tight ends, with 2 tight ends that he trusts, 2 tight end sets. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, I've liked Ricky Seals-Jones since he was a wide receiver in college. I liked him when he was coming out of high school. I thought the guy was extremely talented. If he so happens to be the second string tight end, he's an excellent receiving threat. Of course, we know what Logan Thomas can do, and John Bates is I trust Logan Paulson. The guy says that he's going to be good. Zach Ertz says that he's going to be good.
Yeah.
All reports are that he was severely underused and he can do it all. So I really think that the 2 tight end sets is really only going to help. Think about the speed on the outside. You think about the running game. You think about how it's just going to open things up, middle to mid-range to deep over the middle. I think that the tight ends are going to play a huge part in this passing game.
Yeah, well, let's keep it there because Andy Burrows from the UK, and the DC Tweet Team podcast, make sure you go check them out. He asked the tight end question, actually fits in perfectly with Rico's. With all of our tight ends on the roster, will we see more tight end plays with everyone focused on the speed at outside at wide receiver? Will that open up the playbook for more tight end type plays, Reed?
Yeah, I think that it will. I think that, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's no secret that throughout his career, he has really liked these bigger targets. He likes throwing to guys that have a wide catch radius, if you will. Logan Thomas is 6'6". Ricky Seals-Jones is 6'5", I believe, maybe even 6'6". John Bates is 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". So I really think that it will, and I think that you could see some quick outs from the tight ends. You're going to see some button hooks over the middle once the defense is kind of spread out. Anytime you have speed and it opens up the middle of the field, that's a good thing, and you could take advantage of that with your tight ends or the run game. So I'm excited I think that you very well could see a lot of stuff with multiple tight ends.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Andy. That's what's going to happen. With all of the speed on the outside, the defense naturally has to respect the threat. You can't just allow that to be out there willy-nilly. You got to prepare for it. You got to stop it, right? Well, the one way it's going to happen is the middle of the field. So, yes, it is going to open up for the tight ends. But I also think that the running game is going to do a lot because now the safeties have to respect the deep ball. So now you're not going to have 8 guys in the box. You're going to only have 7, maybe 6 at times. So you're going to run the ball efficiently. That also is going to help the tight ends with like the seam routes off play action and stuff like that. A lot goes into it. So yes, basically to your point, Andy, I do think the tight ends this year are going to have a lot more production in the passing game.
Yeah, like I just said before, Ryan Fitzpatrick is really efficient over the middle. He loves using his tight ends. Having a second guy that's pretty athletic, like a John Bates, maybe Ricky Seals-Jones, who's athletic, can kind of stretch those seams, open it up on the outside for guys, and vice versa. The guys on the outside going deep, running those like kind of intermediate to deep routes. It's going to open up a lot of the underneath stuff for the tight ends. And I feel like Zampese, Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, all the offensive minds, and Coach Rivera, I think are all telling Ryan Fitzpatrick, like, look, you don't got to play YOLO ball. You don't got to put everything on your shoulders. Just know your role.
Trent Dilfer this thing, bro.
Literally hit the open guys and then take the shots when they're there. Kind of what we wanted Alex Smith to do, but he wouldn't take the shots when they were there. He would just hit everything underneath. Yeah. So I definitely think that we're going to get similar kind of play to last year as far as tight ends. I think, like Logan Paulson said last week, I definitely think that Logan Thomas's numbers will kind of dip down a little bit, but it'll be more efficient, more yarders per catch, more touchdowns. I definitely think that he'll be a bigger red zone threat this year. And like you said in the running game, Antonio Gibson was killing out of one back sets last year. So if you get a guy in a 2 tight end set, a guy like Logan Thomas who is a willing blocker and a pretty good blocker, and a guy like John Bates who mostly in college was used as a blocker and passing, catching here and there, you kind of throw the defense off. Like you don't know if it's going to be a certain run play or a certain pass play. So I definitely think that that's going to be the key to this offense this year is those 2 tight end sets and just work in the middle of the field and
And
moving the chains on third down.
Speaking of that, Hall, you talked about the one running back set. Well, our next question is from Washington Football Team News, our guy Colin Dunphy, who contributes for the BurgundyZone.com blog. This is a great one. He said Washington used 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers 67% of the time in 2020, but were only successful 42% of those attempts. Considering their personnel additions this offseason, would you rather them use that grouping more, less, or the same? Reed.
Say it one more time. You started cutting out when you said the exact personnel. What was the exact personnel?
What's it called? Considering their personnel additions this offseason, would you rather them use the grouping more, less, or the same?
Yeah, I know, but what was the personnel on the field that they used?
11.
11.
Which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers.
Right. 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. So the question is, would you like to see them the same or more? Yeah, I'll go with more. I would love to see 3 wide receivers. I think that is kind of the way to go with Terry. Assuming that De'Ami Brown pans out, I think we're all excited to see him. So yeah, I'll just go with yes because I'd use it more.
I would like to see them use it more, Colin, because I want to see the defense spread out, like we just talked about before. When you go to lesser, you are going to have less big bodies on the field. They're going to have to go their nickel, their dime to be able to combat that. So that's going to give you the ability to run the ball easier and do better. That's what I would like to see. If they can be in an 11 personnel a lot of the time and consistently run for 4 yards per carry, this is a dangerous team.
That
Especially not even considering what they have on defense. That's a dangerous team and a dangerous recipe. So I do wish that they use 11 personnel a lot more, but also I want it to be more effective.
It has to be effective.
Yeah, I definitely want it to be more effective, more efficient. Definitely on like the third to like mid range, kind of the 3rd and 5s or 3rd and less than that, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 range. 11 personnel is perfect for that because you can spread the defense out. You got a guy like Antonio Gibson who can use him in the pass game. You can also use him obviously in the run game. He can get you those 5-6 yards easily on a run like that. You can use him on the swing out the backfield after you like run some like deep routes with the outside guys to kind of open up the underneath stuff like I was just talking about before. So I definitely think that 11 personnel would use a lot more, especially with a guy like De'Ami Brown getting added. Cam Sims coming into the offense in year 2 of this offense, already knowing the offense, getting hyped up by the wide receiver coach already. So I definitely think that. And you got a guy like Logan Thomas who can spread out on the outside, flex out. A guy like McKissick. Just a lot of different variations of the 11 personnel I want to see that used more this year.
Absolutely. Now our next question is from Mark Baxter, our guy. He said it's Bobby Bonilla Day. So
you can't read today.
No, I can't. Who is a non-star player on Washington you would sign to a Bonilla-like deal?
Oh, that is fantastic.
I will go Tim Settle because I think that Tim Settle is a guy that on any other team would get. I don't think he'd be a starter per se unless it's like one of like the lower tier team, lower bottom team. But I definitely think he'll get a lot more rotation time on other 31 teams for the simple fact of we're just so deep up front. He doesn't really get used as much, but that's a guy that comes in. He's efficient with his rushes. He pushes the pocket, collapses the pocket, plays and run well. So if I had to choose anybody, my man Tim Settle.
For me, it's Terry McLaurin. Just because you have that like flat rate, right, where Terry could possibly blossom and get top 5 money. You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather that flat rate for Terry McLaurin down the line, just because I know how good he is, how good he can be, and how long he could play this game for if he continues to work hard. So for me, it's Terry.
Yeah, I was gonna go Terry too, but I'll make this easy. It's okay. It happens all the time. I'm going to go with just an outside the box answer. I'll go with Cam Curl. I'm just gonna go with
that's
Cam.
a good one.
Love the guy.
Absolutely love the guy. Absolutely.
Nobody expected that one.
Yeah. Now let's go to Scott Hartley, the Inquirer in the UK.
Oi!
He said, would you rather travel the world for a year, all expenses paid, or have $40,000 to spend on whatever you want?
Oh, I mean, first of all, $40,000 spent on whatever you want would be super tight. But dude, I need to travel, man. I want to travel the world so bad. I want to go all over the place. I'm a huge history buff, man. I want to go see Rome. I want to go all over Europe. I don't want to go to Russia. Russia freaks me out a little bit. But I want to go see Africa. I want to go see the motherland. I want to go see South America. I want to go see the Aztec and Mayan ruins. I want to see Egypt. I want to see everything. So I want to travel the world.
I'll tell you a little story here, Scott. Back when I was a kid, I had a friend that was Brazilian, and his family was Brazilian. They would go to Brazil every year, and I was like, "Yo, let's go one time." He was like, "Well, you'd have to learn Portuguese." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Down in Brazil, dude, if you come with us, like, you are going to be taken hostage. You're gonna get robbed. Like, when they figure out you're an American and you speak English, you're gonna get robbed. Like, they're going to take you." Most of the world is exactly like this.
We'll
so
stay away from those shit areas, obviously.
So I would much rather. I don't want to be like a tourist type of person. I'm not that type. If I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna go see Normandy. You know, I'm gonna go see the D-Day beaches. I'm gonna go see Pearl Harbor stuff. But I would much rather take that 40 grand.
Well, as someone that was with someone that pretty much was gifted $40,000 for free, and it wasn't my money, but I mean, I definitely
Why
partake.
you didn't tell that as the crazy story tonight?
Because it just came to my head whenever as soon as you said $40,000, I just started reminiscing and having flashbacks.
Basically, a friend of ours was dating this chick that was like she had a sugar daddy essentially on the side, and he gave her a bunch of money. She threw 40 grand at her guy and basically said yeah, screw you. Blah, blah,
she
blah.
had like a mental breakdown and just they gave him $40,000 and
he pissed it away too.
Literally pissed it away.
Well, yeah, I would too.
No pun intended, because there was a lot of beer, bro.
On literally beer. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I say no pun intended, because there was a shitload of alcohol bought with that $40,000. Again, not my money. I would have done multiple things differently.
Yeah.
But as someone that's been around someone that just blew $40,000, so I kind of been there, done that, I definitely would travel around the world, even though, like Kyle said, there's a lot of sketchy places where they're like, ooh, Americans.
Yeah.
But there's also places where you go to, like, Japan, they're like, hey, black guy, well, I can't say Kobe Bryant anymore, R.I.P. Oh, Michael Jordan, you Michael Jordan.
That's racist.
But see, you can't go to China though, like that. Like China's fucked. There's a lot of places you can't go, Kyle. You are 100% right, but there are some badass places that.
Oh yeah,
150%,
150%.
Yeah. But, I want to go see like where ISIS originated and stuff. Go there, hang out.
Stupid. Now Scott's next would you rather be completely invisible for one day or be able to fly for one day?
Okay, I've thought about this a lot because when I was a teenager, I used to be a pervert thinking about how cool it would be to be invisible and go into the women's locker room. But I don't want to be invisible. I'm already kind of invisible to everybody. Nobody really notices me, so I'm gonna pick fly. Being able to fly would be so tight. It would just be so fun. Man. But imagine being able to fly, but you're scared of heights. So you're just kind of hovering a little bit.
Well, if you can fly, you wouldn't be scared of heights anymore because there's no falling.
No, but you're still just being up there. You're scared.
That's not what you're scared of.
So while you're flying,
you're just I know what you're saying, Kyle. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying, Kyle, but I'm just saying. And also, you're like, what if this runs out soon? What the fuck? How am I supposed to know if my gas tank's empty?
I'm sorry, I gotta say some weird crap, dude. But could you just imagine because birds go and crap on people. Could you?
You would have to be doing the backstroke, pretty much. Yeah. Just emptying out their butt on top of somebody's car that they don't like.
It'd be horrible, absolutely horrible.
So when you fly, then do you have to be naked? I guess you do have to be naked when you fly.
You don't have to be.
Well, then you're just gonna shit your pants, Kyle.
Well, you could. No, I'm talking about hovering and just pulling down your pants while you're flying.
Okay, yeah, that's.
You know what I'm saying? That would be messed up, dude. Absolutely messed up. I don't know. I guess I'd invisible for a day or flying out. Probably flying, dude. So what I'll do is I'll take the 40 grand, I'll take the flying for a day, and I'll go sightseeing across the world for a day. That's what I'll do.
See, there you go, and you just beat the goddamn Scott Hartley would you rather quiz.
Yes, I did.
Is Hall dead?
Yeah, he did.
Or is he froze?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back now.
Okay.
Poop is funny.
Yeah. Poop's tight. Poop's pretty cool. Yeah, Poop's pretty cool.
Dude, did you see the push-up video from Devontae Smith?
I did, yeah, dude. So that first of all,
look at me during 2 days,
no, but
no. That's at 3, that's at 2 p.m. on 2 days at the last part where you just don't have anything left.
That's what I'm saying. It's I hate this.
No wonder he has the body of a bulimic vegan. He's just so thin. No wonder he's not doing anything right.
So if you haven't seen, there was a video posted of Devontae Smith working out, the wide receiver for the Eagles, and he was doing quarter push-ups, literally bending his elbows a little, and there was still a huge amount of space between his chest and the ground.
The nerd in gym class who barely bent their elbows when they.
So I call it the federal push-up, man. When you think a lot's going on, but in reality there's nothing happening. Yeah, that's a federal push-up. Right
Hey-oh, that's a good one, Kyle.
Yeah,
that's good.
I have good ones every once
in a
years.
while. Yeah,
Every couple of years I get one or two. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Thank you to everyone for your fan questions. Thank you to Rico. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mark Baxter. Especially thank you guys. You guys are the best. And then we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Make sure you check us out. We got a great show lined up for you guys. All right, I'm Kyle.
No depressing stories.
I will have a lights next week, so I just don't completely fade to black.
And I am Larry Law.
Just wear the damn mask.
All right, everybody. We will see you next week.
I'm an aging
Washington football. Woo!
realtor, balding.
You're ridiculous. What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.